Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Geeks Not Nerds, the podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
Today, Dan and I are going to be watching Spider-Man, the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, and we're going to be doing another commentary podcast. So once again, in case you missed the first one that Vince and I did, what we're doing with these is we are going to be doing a full-blown podcast while watching a movie. And what that means to you is you can either watch the film with us, and we'll tell you when to cue your movie up and start watching it with us, and theoretically that should work. Or you can listen to it on your own, and without if you listen to it in a iPod or in your car or whatever, and you can't watch the movie right there with you. You can still listen to it because we will provide as much context as possible for what we're talking about. And so anyway, that's how it works. Dan, are you ready to go? Are you? How long has it been since you've seen this?
I think I watched it a good, maybe 6 months ago.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know if it had been a while or...
It's been a while, because every time I watch it, I like it less, and it's a movie that I wore the VHS tape out of when I was a kid, so I loved it.
I'm excited to see what this does to you. It's a social experiment. Tonight I'm going to be testing Dan's resolve.
I'm going to go insane. On recorder.
What's going to be even more fun is when we do 2 and 3.
Oh, boy.
Actually, what's going to be more fun is when we do 3.
Yeah. I mean, 2 might not be too bad, but...
Yeah, 2's quite good.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's not review 2. Let's watch 1. Here we go. So, everybody that's doing this with us, you've got your DVD menu up there right now, hopefully. And if not, pause this podcast, get that rigged up. And then I want everybody to go ahead and hit the play button on your menu screen right now.
Danny Elfman score. Got my Cheerios and my water, by the way. That's what I'm munching on, if anybody's wondering. So if you hear chewing, that's what it is.
I bet everybody was really wondering what you were munching on, Dan.
Just wanted to get that out of the way.
So, Dan, we got Danny Elfman.
Yeah, I like Danny Elfman.
And Elfman did 89 Batman.
He did. And
he did this, and they're very, very, very different.
Yeah, and he did Hulk, too. I like the Hulk score.
Hulk. Yeah. I forgot about that.
And he did the Flash TV score, which is very similar to 89 Batman.
Well, what's very interesting, actually, is that he didn't do the score for that show. He wrote the theme song.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, but what's really interesting is that the person who did the score was Shirley Walker.
What has she done?
Shirley Walker did the animated series score, which was based to sound like Danny Elfman. Yeah. So, but what's great is the Flash show started first, before animated series.
Oh.
So they did it twice.
That's interesting.
Hmm. I freaked out when I found that out.
That's really cool.
I was like, that's so cool. Well, I didn't actually literally freak out. I was throwing things. Oh my god.
As a kid, this was one of the only credit sequences that I thought was cool. I don't know.
Out of just anything you ever saw?
Yeah, everything else was just boring. I love, it'll come up soon, but the part where all these webs go onto the costume, I thought that was an epic thing. I was just yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I remember when this came out thinking that it was kind of, it was a different thing.
Yeah.
That I hadn't really seen before. I wasn't real keen on the fact that they felt the need to kind of do it again for every one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I liked this one the most because it wasn't, too much of a thing where they're look what happened in the last movie with all these pictures, in case you didn't see them.
Yeah, it couldn't be, because there wasn't anything before this.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, the others are total recap, and you feel like there should be a guy in the background who's previously on Lost.
Yeah, previously on Smallville, Spider-Man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, when you brought that up last night in a call we were in, I was like, wow, that blew my mind. But anyway, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there, hopefully. But anyway, so yeah, some people have complained because, of course, putting this in perspective, this is still one of the earlier major superhero movies, and some people have, this came out in 2002, and some people have complained that it doesn't have a hummable theme song.
Really?
You know what I mean? Where where like it's not catchy like the Superman theme or the Batman theme was. Like some people think that's a problem.
Well, it's not a cartoon show. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
It's fitting. I always thought it was quite fitting.
Yeah, I like the score a lot.
How do you feel about Spider-Man narrating all the time?
I like the narrating because it's Peter Parker's a character that is always doing that at his head in the comics anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very indicative of that sort of thing. And I think a lot of the problems with Peter Parker in this script come from them trying to put what's going on in his head and have him say it, and it comes off really weird.
That's a good point. That was a problem that the 90s animated show had.
Yeah.
That he was... You were constantly hearing his thoughts like they would have been like thought balloons, and it's strange in this sort of media. It doesn't come off right.
Yeah.
When it's constantly happening. Now, having said that, I don't love that it's bookended the way it is. Like I almost, this is going to sound funny, I almost wish that it had been more like Kick-Ass was, where there's some narration is splattered out throughout the film. Like
it would have been sort of a retrospective thing, just throughout the whole film instead of how it is here, where it's just like at the beginning and then at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it wouldn't have even had to be in retrospective. You're right. With Kick-Ass, it was like he was narrating having already been through everything.
Yeah.
And here it's real time. It's like this is what I'm thinking about right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I still think you could have, even with the real time thing, not real time, but in present time, I think you could have still had that. Just a little bit more of it throughout the film.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way they did it in Daredevil, the way that Matt Murdock narrates a lot of the scenes in that movie, and it doesn't come off as that weird.
No, I don't think so either. And again, it's consistent. You forget about it here, and then when he comes back at the end, it's kind of jarring.
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
think these days, it's too trite to do that. I think, where it's almost like it feels necessary to some filmmakers just to like remind the audience what they're watching.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see the point. Yay, Dafoe!
I love Dafoe so much.
Maybe one of the very, very best casting choices for a villain ever.
I know. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that Norman Osborn isn't written as well as he should be, because he basically has like no motivation in this movie. But the performance is fantastic.
Yeah, and he owns it, and he clearly is enjoying himself.
Oh, yeah, I've heard in interviews that he's extremely proud of this role. I mean, he should be. I mean, I just wish that the mask would have let him give more performance, because he's creepier without it on.
Yeah, that's right, as Weird Al says.
Yeah, that is true. I totally forgot about that.
He's wearing that dumb Power Rangers mask, but he's scarier without it on. I love that.
Yeah.
What's really fun about him is that he's creepy before he's evil.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't gone psychotic yet here. Like there's no reason to be really freaked out by him at this point. But there's something behind his eyes where you're just like, he's definitely capable of going nuts.
Yeah, and Dafoe is just kind of like that in general, so...
Yeah, but I think that's just what he looks like. I don't think he's really like that.
Yeah.
I've always heard he's actually a really down-to-earth guy, but he's just got these super creepy eyeballs.
Yeah.
He's like Robert O'Reilly, who plays Gowron in Star Trek. He's got these giant eyes. Every time he says anything, you're like, ooh.
Same thing with the nose. Like, I mean, his face just looks like the Green Goblin mask from the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you just put green makeup on, there you go.
They could have cast that guy based on a photo.
Yeah. I mean, good thing he's a good actor, too.
How do you feel about this movie being mostly origin? Is it dragged out? Is it something that like you think it needed to happen? Because at this point, I was so familiar with Spider-Man, I was already sick of seeing this.
I'm kind of weird among people, I guess. Yeah. I really like origin stories, and the Spider-Man origin story is one of my favorite stories ever. I'll reread that thing whenever they retell it, and, I find it interesting.
Wow, you are weird. All right.
Yeah, so I don't really mind the whole origin thing, really.
All right. You must roll your eyes every time I talk about that on Rewind.
No, I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, I can understand why you don't enjoy it, but I think it's really interesting to see why these people become superheroes, what motivates them and stuff,
I agree. I just don't think it takes a half hour.
Yeah,
I think with some of them it does. I mean, again, I guess I always go back to this, but like with Batman Begins, I think we needed a fleshed out origin for that character, but not so much Spider-Man. Because I think that his origin is too much of a morality play.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really just there to get the ball rolling. I don't feel like we need like these really intense scenes of motivation. It's a very, very simple origin. Guy gets bit by spider. Guy wants to use it for his own gain. Something bad happens because he tried to use it for his own gain. Now he's a superhero. The end. Like I don't see the point in fleshing that out for half an hour.
It depends on what kind of tone you take with it. Really, I think, because you can take it in a way that, like, you know, you show Peter Parker like he is in this movie, where he's kind of this like shrinking geek that's always trying to like live up to everyone else's expectations, and he's just like trying to impress everyone. Mm-hmm. Or you can make it that, like, in the original book, it was kind of like he was a guy that was like didn't feel like society gave anything to him, so he didn't have to give anything back. And I feel like that's a characterization that you can really explore in the early parts if you want to, and it's interesting.
Well, I think it's a 2 because that immediately makes the character a bit more proactive.
Yeah, and that's how he should have been.
Absolutely. Yeah, my problem with this with the way he's portrayed here is that he's too flaky. He lets things happen to him. Yeah. And it's the same problem you had with Clark Kent in Smallville, and it makes sense because the creators of that show wrote this film.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that I'm not criticizing this because it's not like the source material. I'm just saying that the thing about this character that people like is because he's relatable and he's proactive, not just because, like, people just don't like him because he's a geek. It's because he's, you know, all of the things that he is and relatable, and he's proactive and is able to overcome all of his problems and be a hero, you know? He's not just, you know, this guy that, like you said, that lets stuff happen to him and happens to have superpowers.
Talking about the specific scene that we're looking at here, is it goofy to you that the spider is the same color as Peter Parker's costume is going to be?
It is kind of goofy, but at the same time,
I sort of liked it when it came out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of clever.
It is kind of goofy, but at the same time, why else would he choose those colors? You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when he's looking at that spider right there, they do a close-up on it, so you get the sense that he got a really good look at it.
Yeah. I mean, excuse me.
Are you choking on cereal, Dan?
I am. Anyway.
Yay for CGI Oscorp.
You think he would have chosen, like, you know, black and white or something, like the black costume, logically. But, you know. That's really CGI, by the way?
I agree. Oh, I think parts of it are.
Huh.
I think it's one of those things where there's like a matte painting kind of thing behind it's impractical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what would have been awesome if that guy was Jason David Frank on the glider?
Yeah.
The Green Ranger.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
I would never thought about that. I think this guy who plays Dr. Strom is a very good actor.
Oh, yeah, he is. I was really surprised that Dr. Strom was in this movie because he's a really obscure villain. Like,
Is he a villain?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was in one of the stories, Ditko plotted it, and he was like a mad scientist guy. I forget what his villain name was, but yeah, he was a villain. He was like a one-off villain.
Wow, it's kind of sad that they didn't use him as like a minor villain in like the second one or something.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I always thought that was cool, like seeing him here. I was like, that guy was going to be a villain someday. Well, no, he died.
I brought this up in the Batman commentary that Vince and I just did, but I want to mention it again here because this is the franchise I was talking about with that. The idea that it's kind of a shame that they didn't have some minor villains that were kind of throwaway that were just in a scene.
Yeah.
Because that's a very Spider-Man thing to do. He's got such a big rogues gallery, but the difference between Spider-Man's rogues gallery and Batman's rogues gallery is that so many of those characters are really throwaway, and you can just use them so that Spider-Man has somebody to fight in a scene.
Yeah, like Shocker, for example.
Yeah, or even Rhino or Scorpion.
No.
Not that those characters don't have backgrounds and that there aren't things that can be done with them. I'm just saying that if you want to have some more comic book characters in these movies, I think that you could do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I'd especially like to see Mysterio on screen in some capacity sometime, because I love Mysterio.
I agree with you, and I think that these movies sometimes get the sense that you can't use a villain unless he's like the big villain.
Right. Yeah.
He's got to be the central antagonist, and I feel like Nolan kind of figured out that you can put guys more in the background. I mean, I love that Victor Zsasz is in Begins.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. I agree. Did you hear that Cliff Robertson died recently? By the way, he passed away.
Cliff Robertson, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Shades told me actually, because
wow.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
I was really unfortunate because I really liked him as Uncle Ben in this movie.
Yeah, I think he's great.
He just has this really like warm. Rosemary Harris' Aunt May is fantastic too.
Yeah, and again, I think that there are places where, like we were talking about with Norman Osborn, where some of these actors were chosen partially based on what they look like.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that both of those actors are like straight from the early comics. I think that he looks a lot like. I mean, I think Aunt May looked a little bit like older, maybe. In the comics, maybe not older, but like,
yeah, she was. She looked ancient in her first appearance.
Sort of
Yeah,
yeah, but don't you think he looks quite a bit like early Uncle Ben?
He does, but early Uncle Ben was a little bit fatter. He was kind of chubby. And,
okay.
Martin Sheen looked exactly like him, which is cool.
Okay.
I mean,
you know those comics way better than me. It's been a long time since I've read them.
I read them way too much. That's my problem.
Yeah, I know. You've got them memorized.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point, like I told you about that Spider-Man with Great Power book that I read, and it's like tying to Amazing Fantasy, and like it was a good story, but it didn't line up, so I didn't enjoy it. It's like, this doesn't make sense. I can't enjoy this. He was characterized a lot like Peter is in this film, so you probably wouldn't like it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's like an arc for him, and he gets over it, but he's like totally unlikable before he goes through the arc. It's weird.
I remember even when I saw this in the theater, thinking that the overarching plot was just too typical, and we hadn't even had a lot of superhero films yet, and I still thought that.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I was a lot younger than you, obviously, so that never occurred to me. But now you're right.
I was a junior or senior in high school when it came out, and I was already really into all this stuff. And I went to see this with my girlfriend at the time, and I remember looking for stuff that like I had read were supposed to pop up in the movie and then didn't. Like there was a rumor early on that Eddie Brock was supposed to have a cameo.
Don't they mention someone named Eddie in the Daily Bugle in this?
Yeah, it's real throwaway, but like he was supposed to appear on screen.
Huh.
I thought. But I mean, it's been a lot of years. I could have that wrong. But
see, that's really weird that Raimi would mention someone named Eddie and he was supposed to appear on screen and then resist doing Venom. That's strange to me.
He's so anti-Venom.
Yeah.
He's anti-Venom. I get it. I think that what was I gonna say? Defoe is a really good improv actor.
Oh yeah.
He is great at getting totally into the moment. You can't write and it makes it really real. Like you can't write things for an actor like what he did earlier in the scene. It was a few minutes ago, but like when the metal bar goes over his chest and he says, "Ooh, that's cold." Yeah. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, see, I don't pick up on that stuff as much, because I guess I don't pay attention to that stuff in movies enough, I guess, like the acting wise, but
I've listened to way too many director and actor commentaries.
I should definitely do that.
Where they talk about things like that. Like if you watch enough Buffy or Angel and listen to all the Whedon stuff, like that's like sitting in a film class, dude.
Oh, cool. I mean, I still have to watch that stuff, period, because I've never seen any of it. So.
Oh, you gotta.
I know.
It'll change your whole world. At least it did mine. I love. Yeah. So now I'm coming off as a flaming Whedon fanboy, but I don't care. I feel, I don't know. His shows taught me a lot about storytelling.
Oh yeah. I mean, like. I remember the first time I read his Astonishing X-Men run. That was the first Whedon thing I ever read, and I was like blown away.
Yeah, decent place to start. I mean, That's great stuff. So the whole getting better eyesight and not needing glasses thing has become a total like cliche now.
That is true.
And I think it's funny that they did that here. Again, I can't help but think about Smallville when I watch this movie, because I know that people involved in that show were involved in the script. And like, we had already seen that in Smallville with the bug cryptofreak. Who didn't need his glasses anymore and threw them away. And it's interesting that he had bug powers. And that's the character that had the glasses thing. I find myself picking up on weird little things that I think they kind of recycled from things they did in Smallville episodes just months earlier. Now the thing is, they might not have been recycling from that. It could be the other way around, because who knows when this got written based on that. I mean, in relation to that. So
yeah, that's true.
So I don't know about that, but is MA has sausages there? That's a good trivia question. I should write that one down. I've actually already done all the trivia questions for my trivia book, but I kind of want to put that one down. Yeah, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up my trivia file. I'm going to start doing this, by the way. I've been meaning to do this. I'm going to start doing this with some of the movies that we do on this show, and periodically I'll reveal a few of my trivia questions that are going to be in the book, and ask them to you just before we see the scene.
Oh man, that's awesome.
But that might be fun. So I'll pull that up.
That'll be a lot of fun.
We'll do a little bit of that later. But anyway, okay. So I got to ask you this, because I would assume that this would be a pet peeve for you, but I want to know. You being kind of the early Spider-Man purist, I don't want to say purist because I know you like other things, but like you knowing the early stuff so well, does it bug you that they change Mary Jane to be the girl next door kind of character?
A little bit, yeah, because they could have just used someone else, you know? Like, they could have used Gwen, and it would have been just as well. I feel like Mary Jane was the one used just because she was the one that was used in a lot of the animated shows and stuff.
It seems to me like it's just an unfortunate choice because it's way too typical. The point of Mary Jane originally was that she's not the typical love interest.
Right, exactly.
And the way they meet in the comics is indicative of that.
Right, exactly.
And again, I guess we keep stressing this. It's not that they have to go straight with source material, but what's interesting about adapting source material is that it's more glaring if it's way worse.
Yeah, sometimes they just miss the point, you know?
Mm-hmm. So if they do something that's just very, very different and still good, it doesn't have to be better necessarily.
Right.
But it's almost better to just err on the side of totally different.
Right, exactly.
As opposed to, well, we're just going to do something that's familiar. And I feel like that's what we got here, you know? Mary Jane's familiar. She could be Lana Lang, really. And kind of is, and I'm still doing that. I'm aware, but but she kind of is.
Yeah, and they hint at the whole like her backstory thing that she had in the comics with the abusive father and the bad home life, but they never go anywhere with it. Not always, kind of.
And she sure doesn't feel like the same character to me.
Yeah, especially in 2.
Especially in 2. Yep.
She doesn't even look the same. Kirsten Dunst does not look the same. I think she got vastly more unattractive in 2, but that's just me.
Wow, I never thought of that. That definitely happened to Invisible Woman in the Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah.
She got a lot of flack for that.
Yeah, I mean, I never believed she was smart either. That was the thing that bugged me.
No, me neither. But what again, it doesn't have to be just like source material, but what I don't understand is why you would make a character less interesting.
Yeah.
That's what I don't get. It's like, okay, we changed it, but in favor of what?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of the time it's just that the people writing the scripts for these things, especially the ones early on, didn't get the characters as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, if Raimi was such a big fan of the early stuff, I don't know why he would change the characterization so much. Unless he, inappropriately thought that, like, those characterizations are just, like, wrong for present-day teenagers.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it is.
And I don't agree with that.
Me either.
Where it's like, no, we have to have, teen angst.
You can have teen angst and have Peter be proactive, and the same thing with Mary Jane. I mean, that's why the character worked.
And I suppose that's become kind of a bad word these days, teen angst, because it's done so badly and so tastelessly in a lot of places now.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's almost become one of those words that you use and, it's an eye roller. People are like, oh, teen angst, but...
I read an interesting article the other day about how the idea of the teenager is a relatively new concept.
Yeah, that is true.
And how I want to say even pre World War II that we didn't have this idea of teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had youths,
mm-hmm.
but we didn't have the teenager. And what this article tried to say was that the idea was that like pre-teenager, the idea with a youth is that it was that was a person who was in their teens who was working toward becoming an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And that the idea of the teenager is the person who is in their teens and doesn't want to grow up.
That's really interesting.
I think so too.
I think it's really interesting too how I was in my psychology class in high school and my teacher was talking about how now that everyone goes to college, adolescence is almost extended into your 20s because you're still in school and you're not fully independent yet. And it takes people longer to grow up.
Yeah. And I think that gets it has a lot to do with why we're seeing so many people in their 20s still living with their parents, and how we're having this weird generation now I'm not sure we've ever had where the kids are not becoming more wealthy than their parents.
Yeah, that's really true.
That's very new and somewhat disconcerting, really.
Yeah.
Because, growing up, I always thought the idea was, that you wanted to grow up and try to kind of surpass your parents.
Yeah, so you can...
I always thought that was the point of having kids, too, you have kids, and then you train them based on the mistakes you made, and then you hope that they surpass you in some way.
Yeah, and then they can take care of you when you get old.
See, I have a kid, and I never think about stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I was just joking.
I'm like, if I get bad off enough that I need to be taken care of, I'm just gonna come up with some really cool way to commit suicide. Probably not.
Yeah, I know. I know you're joking.
That was a joke.
Spider things on his fingers.
Yeah, and I always, okay, two questions. First of all, do they extend like through the costume?
Oh, that's a good point.
And second of all, how do the feet work if he's wearing shoes?
Yep, good point. Wow, I didn't even think of that.
I just never quite got it. And that's not a movie problem, that's a comic book problem too. I mean,
it is.
It's like, how does it work? He has a costume. How does it work?
And
that's something I actually have to sort of kind of give props with Fantastic Four to, even though it didn't really make a lot of sense there either, but just that they at least addressed the fact that the costumes would have to somehow have the same powers they did.
Yeah. That's true.
And it was goofy, but
yeah,
at least they said something about it.
I actually like the web shooters better than the organic ones, but...
I do too, but this was not a terrible idea.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it makes more sense for him to have organic ones. Sort of,
Yeah, it kind of does. What I thought was a little strange reading Spider Island recently, Dan Slott's Spider Island, was that some of the people who got spider powers got webs.
Yeah.
Like, they got organic webbing.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was weird.
It is weird, especially since They did that whole thing before One More Day. They did a story called The Other, where Spider-Man got organic web shooters in the comics, and then they undid it with One More Day because Joe Quesada said it was a bad idea, even though he let it happen.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and then they tried to forget all that, and then they brought it back in Spider Island. It was weird, with the people that got spider powers.
Okay, Dan, are you ready for a trivia question?
I am.
I'm going to ask you a question that's going to pop up later. Let's see if you can answer it now. When Peter is practicing web shooting in his room, what brand of soda is the can he aims at?
Dr. Pepper?
That's it.
Oh, I've seen this movie too much.
Right, it's Dr. Pepper. That's right.
I told you I wore out the VHS tape. I hate this scene so much with the talk coming up.
Well, what I don't like about it is that the dialogue is so ultra awkward.
It's so ultra awkward, and they're both so ultra shallow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not either of them at all.
We're doing this podcast, and we're supposed to talk about this, but I don't even want to. I'm like, this is work. Even want to. You know, that line always bugged me when Peter's like, well, my aunt and uncle can scream pretty good sometimes. I'm like, I want to see that.
Yeah. I cannot picture Aunt May or Uncle Ben.
Trying to imagine it.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Ben, maybe to a point. I like that he plays him with enough dimension that he has a temper, and you can tell.
Yeah, that is true.
He does something that is typical, but not in a bad way at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where I mean, it's a very older guy thing. My grandfather on my dad's side was very much like that.
Yeah, my grandpa was like that too. I always
he clearly had a temper, and you could always tell where his breaking point was, and he was very in control.
Yeah,
and Uncle Ben's that way too. You know, he's always in control. He's never going to fly off the handle. But you can tell that he's got a point where he could totally break, and he kind of comes to it later when he's in the car, you know, and he obviously makes the choice to just sit back and put his hands up and not say anything, as opposed to really laying into Peter, which I think that he could do if he was not in control.
Right, and he's one of those guys that, especially the way he plays in this movie, like you said, where you respect him so much that you never want to get to that breaking point because you don't want to, do that to him or, feel his wrath.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great because that makes him a little bit more three-dimensional. I think it's interesting that he has less screen time than most of the characters in this movie because he gets killed off so early, and he feels more real than a lot of them. And I think a lot of that is from his performance.
Yeah, Aunt May too. I really like the way that she's played in 1 and 2. Same kind of thing that you were talking about with Uncle Ben. The way she plays her with three dimensions. I don't know, like the way she came off.
It's a character we come to really care about. I think more so than the protagonist, which is kind of unfortunate.
Me too.
and so then when you get to that really well written, very dramatic scene in the sequel, where Peter finally tells her what happened the night Uncle Ben died. That's a great scene.
It is. It's fantastic.
And it's all because of Rosemary Harris.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I mean,
although I do think that they have chemistry together.
They do.
I mean, I do think that Tobey Maguire knew how to act with her.
I don't think Tobey Maguire had he could have been a good Peter Parker if he was written better. I mean, I don't think he would have been the best Peter Parker, but because he can't pull off the jokey dialogue, but I think he could have at least have been better if they had written him better.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think that it's Tobey Maguire's fault that he can't pull off the jokey dialogue.
You don't think so? You think it was direction?
No. Yeah, I think I think that he's playing a character that wouldn't do that.
No, that's a good point.
He's playing a character where it's forced.
That's a really good point.
Because he can't be this lethargic and then suddenly because I know I use this word a lot, but it's not something that a non-proactive person would do as much.
That's a really good point. I didn't even.
He doesn't talk very much outside a costume. Why would he suddenly start talking it up inside of the costume?
Yeah. I agree
the
with
idea,
you.
and I think I said this when I reviewed it. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But the idea could have been played up that he gets a lot of confidence when he puts the costume on, and then that's why he does that.
Yeah.
And that would be fine. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't get that from this.
Me either. He's pretty much the same person in the costume.
Except for the key points where they decide that he's going to be comic book Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's I would say that that's the reason Toby can't pull it off.
That's a really good point. I never even thought of that way before. That's a really good point.
I think if Peter Parker was that good of an artist, that he should just draw comic books, and then that's how she should make it. Like, there's the Dr. Pepper again.
Yay! I'm a few seconds behind you, so I haven't gotten to that yet. But
You're a few seconds behind me.
Yeah, he's drawing the symbols on mine right now.
Oh, okay.
But
let me see if I can get to where you are.
we're around the same point. It's fine. Man, that is a nice drawing. I wish I could draw that well. I love how he draws that costume and then he makes one for the wrestling thing and it's so bad and then he just makes that costume later anyway with no explanation.
No explanation at all.
Yeah.
What the joke I made in my review was, I guess that costume cost $100.
Yeah.
Because that's how much he got from the wrestling thing.
Yeah.
I want Norman Osborn's robe in this. See, I think it's a great robe.
It is. It is fantastic.
Although the pattern kind of looks like a throw rug.
You're right, it does.
I don't know why I'm talking about that, but yay for characters doing things while they're talking.
Agreed.
I know maybe that's somewhat of a silly thing to point out, but again, it's something Smallville had a lot of problems with all the time, where you would just have, especially later on, where characters would just stand in a room and it would be talking heads, and like people in real life are usually doing things while they're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know Uncle Ben was a repairman, and I like that we see him doing repairman things. It's cool.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, especially like the scene we were just watching with Peter and Mary Jane, they're just like, typical. That could have been in a Smallville episode, leaning on the fence outside, like, oh, my parents are bad to me.
Yeah, and they probably thought they were really clever too by coming up with some reason for them to both be outside at the same time. Like, he's going to take out the trash. Look how awesome we are. We came up with like a realistic reason for them to both be whatever. I'm sorry. I do not like that scene.
Oh, I don't either.
I do like this scene.
Me too. But, again, I don't want to criticize this for not being like the source material, but I just want to point out that comic book Peter Parker, I don't think would have handled this situation in the same way because he respected Uncle Ben too much.
You mean like just the way he backtalks him here, or?
In the original books, Uncle Ben's authority was never questioned because he loved him too much. Because Uncle Ben and Aunt May were the only people that ever were nice to him.
So you think they're going way too far by having him say, "You're not my father, don't pretend to be"?
Right, because I know how in this movie, they sort of, at the end, it's like, that's sort of the thing he comes to realization at the end, that he was as much of a father to him as, anything
So at least
else.
there's a payoff for it. He's got a character arc built in.
Right, exactly. That's good, but I'm just saying that's another place where they stray from the source material. Not that it's a bad thing. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's the same thing with Aunt May. Like, I find it weird that the point with her being his mother is never brought up. If it's such a big thing with Uncle Ben,
Yeah. And then it seems like kind of a stereotypical thing where he just wouldn't even think about a mother because he's a guy, so he cares more about his father.
Yeah.
Or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if I can get this other question out before we see it. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question. So who gets beaten by Bonesaw before Peter fights him?
Oh, what is his name? Oh God, that's gonna kill me. The Flying Dutchman.
That's it. Well done. Well done. That's him.
I was like, it's something to do with SpongeBob. It's something to do with the Flying Dutchman.
I love Macho Man in this. I think he just tears this up.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Bonesaw is ready. I got 3 minutes of playtime.
Oh, I love him in this movie.
Yeah, it was very sad when he passed.
Oh, me too. Like, when I saw him in this movie, I was like, that's the guy from the Slim Jim commercials. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because I was never a wrestling fan, so I just knew him as the Slim Jim guy.
I was never a wrestling fan either, naturally. It just didn't really appeal to me, but my dad watched it a little bit, and so I knew Hulk Hogan, I knew Macho Man, and then there were a couple of obscure ones that I kind of knew. Well, and also Undertaker. And then, like, there was one that my dad always liked called Doink the Clown.
That's awesome.
And there was this weird one I saw once where Doink the Clown was fighting somebody, and then suddenly, like, a duplicate Doink the Clown showed up, and he had to fight himself. And that was weird. I didn't really understand the point of that.
That's really funny.
Do you like the Bonesaw is ready? Do you like the Bruce Campbell? The fact that he's in all three of these as different characters.
Yeah.
Or does that irritate you?
I thought that was really cool, and a lot of people had a theory that he was actually the same character. He was Quentin Beck, and then they were going to cast him. That he was going to become Mysterio in the fourth one.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
I think he would make a great Mysterio.
Oh, me too. The Mysterio is one of those characters that's so over the top and theatrical that I would love to see Bruce Campbell play him.
He could totally pull it off. Yeah. Sure. And the thing is, he doesn't have to have any particular kind of accent. I think that Quentin Beck has been played before with different kinds of accents, but I think that it's a character that you can do a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and you can even put in post-production distill the voice a little bit so it sounds a little bit more like eerie and stuff. Not that you want to completely like digitalize it, but just make it a little bit more echoey or something.
Peter Parker in this goofy costume he makes before he makes the real one with no explanation. I think. Tell me if you think I'm right about this. I think he actually does something here that is pretty indicative of comic book Peter Parker, at least when he was more naive and in high school. I like the idea that he's fixated on the name he came up with for himself.
I like that too.
Where he's like, no, you got my name wrong. The human spider is just fixated on it.
If I remember correctly, that's how it was in the comics, too.
Was it really? Okay,
yeah.
I didn't read that.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's how it was, too.
I did remember when I first saw this, or I do remember thinking that that this was all played up a lot like other versions I had seen.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Where it seemed, I mean, like, the whole cage thing is new and funny, but I'm just saying that, like... Like, for the most part, it seems to kind of, turn out the way it ought to.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You're going nowhere!
I love that guy that just goes,
real veins, man.
Cage!
Cage! He's excited.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, there's this, like, 75-pound kid in there, and I really want to see him get cream.
Yeah.
One thing I wondered... when I reviewed this,
mm-hmm.
and I still can't figure it out. I'm like, is this some kind of underground thing? Is it sanctioned? Like, what is this?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is this like, because I don't think it's like regular televised wrestling or anything.
Right.
On the other hand, they do have to sign a waiver, so it must be legal.
Yeah, and like you saw the Flying
Dutchman. They have
Dutchman.
American flags and stuff. It must be legal.
Yeah, and you saw the Flying Dutchman with a broken leg, and that typically doesn't happen in professional wrestling, like mainstream anyway, right? Like it's all, fake, right? For the most part.
Yeah, sometimes they'll play it up as if he does have one, as if he did get hurt that bad, and then he really didn't. You know what I mean? So like, I think that we're supposed to think that guy really did get a broken leg.
Oh. Okay.
But I think, but I mean, like you see people in actual in like actual fake wrestling get wheeled out on stretchers and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just part of the whole atmosphere. I'm thinking about making that costume.
Cosplay as it? Oh, that's
cosplay
awesome.
as that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then every time somebody would point at me and say, "Hey, it's Spider-Man," I'd say, "No, you got my name wrong. I'm the human spider. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you, and you owe me $3,000."
Yeah, I mean, I'd do that.
That I give you 100. I hate the scene. It makes no sense at all.
I know.
What kind of logic is that? Like, at least come up with I get it. They're swindling people. At least come up with some better kind of logic.
Yeah.
You beat the guy in 2 minutes when it was supposed to take 3. So because you did a better job than anyone would have ever expected, you get a tiny, tiny fraction of the grand prize. What?
I know. That has to be a breach of contract in some way.
Yeah, well, even if it's not, it's just like again, obviously what he's doing is illegal, but that's such a stupid like you're.
I know.
Like how do you expect to actually like get anybody to believe you? Like, I don't know. I hate that.
Oh, I know what you mean. You know what's really interesting about this guy that played the robber here? Did you hear that he was going to be recast in Spider-Man 4? Like he was going to be in that movie too, as the robber again? No, as the robber again. Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea. They were going to do something with the robber again.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Given that Raimi seemed to think it was a great idea to bring everything back to origin again with 3. I mean, like, you'd think after the reviews and stuff that he would go. I mean, who knows if he looks at any of that stuff. A lot of directors don't. But I mean, like you'd think after the backlash from 3, the first thing he would say would be, well, maybe we should have gotten away from the origin. I mean, why would you bring the robber back?
I don't know. Raimi's such an early Spider-Man purist that I have a feeling that's like one of the only things that he really likes, because he doesn't like later stuff.
No, at all. And given all the and what's irritating about directors like that is I always feel like if you don't like the later stuff and you don't want it, just don't do it. Like don't even mess with it. Like don't, because the thing is that they have a tendency to do it and then do it wrong on purpose, because they're like, well, I'm gonna fold it into my mold of what I think it should be like within the stuff I actually like.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so he was gonna take Felicia Hardy and make her the Vultress.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. We're talking over the scene, by the way, but I think these two have good chemistry together.
Oh yeah.
I agree with you that it's a little bit unfortunate. Well, maybe not unfortunate. Maybe unfortunate is not the right word. I guess I'm just saying that I like the comic book version better of how he interacts with Uncle Ben.
Yeah, me too.
But it does make his death a lot harder on the character.
It does. I agree.
And so I do like that, because I mean, like, he's made every bad mistake he could possibly make with regards to this, right?
Yeah.
And so I do kind of appreciate that. It's like the last thing I said to him, and now he's dead.
I know.
And to make it even worse, he's dead because of me.
Yeah.
Like, he's already got to be feeling guilty at this point, even when he's all enraged and everything. He I would say that a lot of what's fueling his rage here is, the last thing I said to Uncle Ben was this terrible thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was guilty when he walked out of the car, let alone now.
Yeah, and yet at this point he still doesn't even realize, that he was the cause of it.
Yeah.
So all of that is pretty well layered. I like that.
Yeah, me too. I feel like they dealt with that really well.
And then at the same time, he's having to use his powers for the first time in the middle of this situation. I mean, this is like driving a car angry.
Yeah.
Only it's like driving an 18-wheeler for the first time angry.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. And I really do like these scenes, especially the shot where he lands on top of the dome.
I think so too. I think it looks great.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I always remember from this movie.
Are those balloons or bouncy balls? but with these, sorry for people who aren't watching the film with the cop cars, while Spider-Man's swinging overhead, they hit this giant like box of stuff, and it's just like these balloons everywhere. I never noticed that before. And then I do think it's goofy that there's just suddenly a huge car chase in the middle of all this.
Yeah, me too. Let me ask you this question. Most of the web swing in these movies is done with CGI. Obviously, you can tell. They're doing it practically in the new movie. I mean,
really? I didn't know that.
It's all practical. Which
Wow.
I think is really interesting.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
Sounds dangerous. It sounds like they're trying to to kind of go more off of what Nolan's been doing with the Batman movies.
Yeah, because he's a practical guy, right?
Yeah, he doesn't do very much CG at all, and like in Begins, everything the Tumbler does, it does.
Oh wow!
When it scales that building, it is friggin' scaling a building.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it does everything. I don't know if it's okay. When I say everything, I don't know if it's actually jumping into a cave.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that part,
Yeah.
but I do know that the thing could jump.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it did that, and I'm pretty sure it scaled buildings.
That's cool.
I mean, I'm sure it was on wires and stuff, but I mean, they did it all practically. It's been a while since I've looked into all that. I used to know a little bit more about it. It's been a few years, but
that's really cool.
If anybody knows more about that than me, feel free to leave comments and complain that I don't know what I'm talking about. But but I'm just saying I'm pretty sure most of that's not CG at all.
Yeah.
I saw some like behind the scenes stuff where they showed like the Tumbler on that roof actually driving between those cars and breaking them and stuff, and I was like, holy crap, they did all that. They did all that? Wow. Thought that was pretty neat. Yeah. I do think this guy playing the burglar is a good actor.
He is. I like him a lot.
And now we get to the part where Spider-Man's a murderer.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I hadn't seen the movie in a long time, and then I saw your review, I was like, wow, that is true.
He kind of is. And again, I mean, they play it up to where it's an accident. I mean, the guy does trip over a thing there, a pipe thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, if you're right there, I mean, I know it's a split-second kind of thinking thing, but I mean, like, you could reach out and grab him.
You could. And you got weapons here.
And when you have this long stare where Peter Parker's like, he's dead and I'm okay with that. Like, you can tell what he's thinking.
Yeah.
I think him sitting on that gargoyle right there looks awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not there yet, but...
Oh, you're still not there? I even scrolled back a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's upsetting. I don't know why mine's...
Are you watching it slower than me?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm just kidding. All right,
everything's in slow motion.
Well, I apologize for anybody watching this trying to stay with us. We're not even together, but
I think we've been pretty coherent so far.
Oh yeah, we've been pretty coherent so far. It's somewhat of a tough thing to line up.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, Dan, you know more than me about Spider-Man comics. Is Quest a made-up company?
Quest, I believe so. I mean, I haven't read absolutely everything, so.
Because I had never heard of that before, before this movie, and I just wondered if they made that up, or because Quest being the competing company for Oscorp trying to get this contract.
Yeah, I think that it is a made up company, but I'm not 100% sure. It may be in the comics. It's not in anything I've read.
And I'm sorry, but this rocket suit thing doesn't look nearly as cool as the glider.
Yeah, why would you invest in that?
It's like, it looks dopey, y'all.
Yeah, I know. And they call it an exoskeleton.
Yeah, it's a giant skeleton, guys.
It just looks like a diet pill with legs.
Okay, so now that we're getting to the scene with the graduation and everything, Dan, maybe you should talk a little bit about something we had a conversation about last night with the large span of time this movie takes.
Oh, when Shades was talking about that?
Yeah. Oh, was that Shades who brought that up?
Yeah, he brought that up.
Okay.
Blew both of our minds. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I couldn't remember. I thought you came up with that.
No, that was all him.
We talked with Shades for like 3 hours last night. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. I mean,
he's right about it though.
Yeah, he is. Like the time that it seems like Harry and Mary Jane don't date for any time at all in this, but it jumps from them graduating high school to Peter in college. So when you think about it, they dated for a while, I suppose, right? Like at least a couple months.
It seems like they'd have to.
Yeah.
And what I don't get is that Norman Osborn takes so long to do things.
Yeah.
If that's the thing, is that like I said when we had that conversation, it feels like they're in different time.
Yeah.
It's like Norman Osborn is in Norman Osborn time, and it goes very quickly. but it spanned out through all these other events somehow. Because all the things that he does leading up to putting on the Green Goblin costume and you know, blowing up the competition and then, you know, later on blowing up his board and everything, all that should have taken like a week and a half.
Yeah. But it takes like months when you think about it.
It takes a really long time.
Yeah.
Unless they were just right at graduation.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's maybe, I don't know. I had never thought about it before Shade said that. I'm going to have to give it more thought. But it seems like he's right.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
But I have a tendency to believe anything Shade says. So.
Me too. Because he's usually right.
Yeah, he's too smart. It's irritating.
He has a good track record.
I hate people like that. Okay, Peter Parker has a tendency to cry a lot.
I don't like that.
Does that irritate you?
It irritates me because... Well, not that Peter Parker cries, because he's an emotional person, and he's cried in the comics before, but it's like... The reason why Peter Parker...
He's got this pouty lip. That's weird. He's like, pouty face.
The reason Peter Parker does all the jokey stuff is to, like, you know, have an outlet for his emotions and stuff. Like, that's him kind of, you know, compensating for all the stuff that's going on in his head, you know?
Yeah, and that is completely absent here.
It is. He's always crying about it instead.
He doesn't seem to have a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. He's all,
you know, really much of one. I mean, he doesn't places. I would say, you know, we were talking about the joke, the delivery of the jokes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works really well in exactly one place, and we're already past it. When he's in the cage with Bonesaw, I think it works there.
Yeah, I agree with you.
When he says, "That's a cute outfit, did your husband make it for you?" I think that works there.
Yeah.
I'm buying that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Oh, you know, we talked over it. There was another trivia question I wanted to give you. Oh,
did it already pass?
It already passed, but you probably didn't notice it. But I'll give it to you anyway.
Okay.
The question was, because there's probably people listening to this that aren't watching the movie. The question was, what club does Peter pose for a picture with at his high school graduation?
The chess club.
Yes.
Haha.
Yes.
3 for 3.
That's right. He's doing great. Yeah. I'll do a few more as we go along. I don't want to give them all away, because I'm hoping a couple people buy my book. But I'm gonna do some of this as we do these, because I think it's fun.
Oh, I think it's fun too. I'll be one of the people buying your book, because then I'll be able to do this with movies and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's fun, and it's gonna be pretty comprehensive. It's gonna go through a whole bunch of movies, so.
Awesome. And here's the costume with no explanation.
I do like the montage.
Me too. I think it's hilarious, the guy with the guitar singing the Spider-Man song.
It is pretty freaking funny.
He looks like a bug.
Yeah.
And then that lady, she's got the tights and a tight little, and then it cuts away.
So, but what I like about it is that it does give the traditional comic book idea that some people like him and some people don't like him.
Oh yeah, and that makes you buy the whole Jameson thing more.
Oh, absolutely. And at the time that those comics were being published, I mean, people don't give Stan Lee credit for this anymore because a lot of people I think these days don't really realize it. Mm-hmm. But at the time, you didn't have that idea very much with superheroes. Like superheroes in comics were just accepted as you know, they're the do-gooders and they fix everything and nobody questioned them.
Yeah, and now it's almost the reverse. Now, look at the DC reboot. Nobody likes superheroes in the DC universe anymore.
Yeah, I'm not real sure why they even put costumes on.
Yeah.
It seems like it's almost counterproductive to their health, to their mental health.
I know, right? It's just funny. I thought that it's really weird how much of a more Marvel universe the DC universe is now, but back to Spider-Man.
Except that again, I think they went too overboard with it.
Yeah, me too.
I think that Stan Lee had a really good middle of the road kind of thing with it. And I like that he could play it for comedy. You know, that's even possible.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's all like dark and edgy and angsty now.
Yeah.
Back then it was somewhat played for comedy, you know, where you had this guy who was like, you know, completely illogically, you know, thought everything Spider-Man did was, you know, to terrorize the city, and it made no sense.
I know, that's why.
Awesome.
I know, that's why I love Jameson. He's one of my favorite characters in Spider-Man. Oh, he's hilarious. And J.K. Simmons, boy, does he nail this part.
He nails it. By the way, I gotta mention this real quick. We're past it now already, but in the montage sequence, I don't know if you noticed this, and I put this in my trivia book too, I think. But Lucy Lawless is in there.
Really?
Yeah, she's the chick with the
with the nose ring.
The nose ring. That's Lucy Lawless of all people.
Oh my god.
She has this little cameo there. And that's because I'm sure that's because Sam Raimi's brother is in this.
Oh yeah.
And he's in this scene. He works in the Daily Bugle, and he was in Xena. He was Joxer in Xena.
Oh.
So that's probably why she got in there.
Okay, that's cool.
It was probably just they were friends, and he invited her to the set one day, and she just did that. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I've not looked into that, but it makes sense. They have to know each other. Mm-hmm. He was also in Sequest, of all things, by the way.
I don't even know what that is.
Just want to throw that out there. Oh, you don't know what Sequest is?
No.
You should watch it. It's the most pretentious science fiction show ever made. It's basically Star Trek underwater with a whole bunch of like really obvious environmental messages that they bash you over the head with. It's like it's basically the way most people describe it is it's a cross between Star Trek and Captain Planet.
That sounds epic.
Yeah, it's great. My wife thinks it's the best thing ever because it's so funny. William Shatner guest starred in an episode of it, and the main captain. And I mean, like, there's some great acting in it. It's just a goofy show, but the captain is played by the lead from Jaws.
Really?
His name. He's passed away since then. But yeah, he was the captain the first 2 seasons.
Wow.
It was on for 3 years. The third season, they jumped it ahead a bunch of years, and then they canceled it.
Man, he's really connected to water rolls, huh?
Yes. I guess so. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but...
They made an Aquaman movie. They should have cast him.
See, I feel like with these podcasts, we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
So, I can get off topic a little bit. Mary Jane, it's too bad that you have to wear, like, the ugliest uniform ever for your waitressing gig.
That's one thing that I thought was kind of in line with comic book Mary Jane, though. She would be embarrassed about working in a diner because she's all about the lifestyle that she, and the mask that she wears, as the party girl.
She would be embarrassed about it, but she would be suaver about not letting anybody know about it.
Right, exactly.
I mean, she's trying there. I'll give her props there. If that guy had walked out, Peter Parker would have never known about it.
Yeah, exactly. And even if that guy did walk out, I feel like Mary Jane still would have played it off, and Peter would have bought it, because she's just that good at that kind of stuff. How do you like James Franco as Harry Osborn in this movie?
I think he's fine.
Yeah, me too. I like him.
I think he's fine. I think they had problems with the character later. But I think that he's pretty much the character I remember from the comics.
Yeah, me too. I just realized that he was like the one person we hadn't talked about yet, and I felt the need that we should have talked about him, because Harry Osborn's one of my favorite supporting cast Spider-Man members, and like the stories with him as the Green Goblin I like just as much as the ones with Norman a lot of the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's not as effective as the Green Goblin, but that's what's interesting about him to me.
Well, it makes sense. He's younger. He's inexperienced.
Yeah, but
and also he's it's taking like a legacy from your father, and you're never going to be his.
Exactly. That's what I find so interesting about it, and
especially when it's like an evil legacy like that, where it's like I'm trying to live up to my father's evilness.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why one of the reasons why I was so disappointed with 3. Like, people concentrate on the whole Venom thing, but I was really disappointed that they screwed up Harry Osborn Green Goblin in there.
Oh yeah, I was too.
Because I love that stuff.
Are you ready for another trivia question, Dan?
Yeah.
Another scene that happens quite a bit later. Mm-hmm. What does Norman bring over to Thanksgiving dinner?
A fruitcake.
That's right. You're 4 for 4, dude.
Yay!
And by the way, in the trivia book, these are going to be multiple choice. Dan's getting them without multiple choice.
Yay!
I love how Peter Parker. I just love Jonah in this. I love how Peter Parker hands him these amazing shots of Spider-Man, and he goes, "Crap,
crap, mega crap,
mega crap." It's really funny. It's like, those were probably the promo photos for the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's probably the promo materials that all the movie theaters got for the movie.
Yeah.
And he's going, crap, mega crap.
Yeah. I love him in the role so much, and I was really happy that they brought him back for the cartoon that they just did.
No, it's not that good.
The weird thing is I feel like he's not in the show a lot because they can't afford him.
Oh, that's probably true.
In the first 2 episodes, he's on a billboard talking, and he says the same thing in both episodes, pretty much. It's him reading that set of lines, once.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
See, I only watched the first part of that. I didn't watch the second part.
Good man. You were smart.
To be fair, I found the first part on like Cartoon Network's website, or not Cartoon Network, whoever's airing that. Who's airing? Disney's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found the first part on their website. I didn't notice the second one anywhere. I didn't realize it was even out yet. The second part. I just watched the first part, and then I went and immediately looked at your review because I knew you'd reviewed it, and then you started talking about the second part, and I was like, oh crap, there's a second part. All right.
Yeah. The weird thing was Paul Dini wrote the second part too, and
I know. Well, he wrote the first part.
Did he? I thought it was something different.
Nope, he wrote the first part.
Oh, okay.
His name was on it.
I hated both of them. So
yeah, I did too. It is so sad. I don't know how you can have Bendis executive producing that show, and then Paul Dini writing those episodes, and it be that not engaging. I cannot believe that.
Me either.
Although, well, I kind of can. It tells me that there's so much Marvel mandated stuff that there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah. I
mean, when you got a studio tying your hands like that, and you're making a show that's only 24 minutes long, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter who's writing it. That's the thing, is that they shouldn't have paid Paul Dini for that.
Yeah.
Because they could have paid somebody a lot less to write the same script.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that there's not a couple fun lines in it or whatever, but
yeah, but Drake Bell butchers most of them anyway, so
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's right for the part.
Yeah. But how good is Defoe in this?
Oh, when he's yelling and stuff.
Oh, I love it.
And you don't like seeing a character just suddenly start yelling like that. It's not usually the way to go. But he's going crazy.
Oh.
And he's losing his company, and yeah, it's great.
And I love the sadistic board members. It's like, yes, we're selling your company. Sip of tea.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we come up into the festival scene. I don't know if you're there yet, but
I'm there.
We come into the festival scene, and you got Macy Gray, and that instantly dates this movie.
Yes, it does.
We have now instantly dated this film.
This movie's the only reason I know who Macy Gray is, to be honest.
She was pretty darn big at this point. I knew who she was.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't into, like, music at this point, so, like, I wasn't a big music listener.
See, I just didn't like music. I think drums are stupid.
I don't know, like, I just didn't listen to music as much as I do now, I don't know. But,
now Dan listens to, like, Bob Marley.
Bob Marley. He's not one of my favorites. I'm not a big reggae person, but...
I'm just making stuff up. I don't know.
I like Bob Dylan a lot.
He listens to Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
He listens to the Dave Matthews Band.
See, here's another scene, just to talk about the movie for a minute.
Well, just for a minute. We can go back to just making up bands Dan doesn't actually listen to.
The whole thing where Mary Jane turns away from the kiss, that's another Mary Jane-esque thing, but Kirsten Dunst doesn't play it right, or it's not directed right, or it's not written right or something, because she would have had, like, a suave, comeback to say to Harry, like, something like, basically saying, I don't want to kiss you in a
Yeah, but instead she's got to play it in this like snarky, irritating way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like it seems like movies like this with the kind of teen stuff, and once again, they're not teens anymore. They just graduated high school.
Yeah.
But with this kind of thing, it seems like we're supposed to find the opposite of what's endearing.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's how I feel like things like that are kind of played up, where it's like we're supposed to be rooting for her because she doesn't like Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, because like I like Harry Osborn.
Me too.
I mean, like, and the thing about it is, I feel like I'm sympathizing with him more than her, even though he's making some stupid moves too.
Yeah.
Just because I'm buying his stupid moves, right? Okay, Here's the motivation. He's got a father who doesn't understand him and doesn't support him very well. Mm-hmm. And that's his role model, and he looks up to him like crazy, but he doesn't give him enough of a time of day, right?
Yeah.
And so he's naturally, and the only person that he really spends very much time with is Peter. So naturally he's somewhat socially awkward.
Yeah.
Especially when he's hanging out with this Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. By the way, so Peter Parker just pulled his shirt open and now he's Superman. I hate that, by the way. I just hate it. It shouldn't happen in a Spider-Man movie.
Smallville.
Ah! Anyway, but my point is, he's too clingy and stuff with her, and you get a little bit more of that later.
Yeah.
But I'm sympathetic toward that because I buy that that's what he would be like with his first relationship.
Right, exactly.
With her, she's just a jerk face for no good reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get that her life, that she has problems with her life and stuff, but I feel like she takes it out on people. I don't feel like he's taking out his problems on people. I feel like his problems just make it difficult for him to relate to people.
Right.
Whereas with Mary Jane, it's like I got this crappy home life and I hate my job and I can't get work doing what I want to do, so I'm just going to be mean to everyone.
You hit the nail right on the head there, man. I completely agree. But this Defoe scene's hilarious. I surrender.
I'm just like I feel like this Green Goblin, before he kicked Spider-Man into that table, would just go and eat some cake.
I know.
He'd just be like, cake.
And I have to tell you, as much as people make fun of this costume, as a kid, I was Green Goblin this costume for like 3 years in a row for Halloween. I loved this costume. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, Dan.
Green Goblin's my favorite supervillain, and I loved the bad guys as a kid, so I was like, Green Goblin, yes!
No, he's a good supervillain. I still think the costume looks stupid. Having said that, I don't know what else you'd do with him.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I almost think it'd be better if Willem Dafoe just put on like a green tuxedo and just rode around on the glider with like a hood on it or something, like, so he was kind of disguising himself, but like...
Did you see the prototypes? Have you ever seen, like, the prototype mask that they had for this movie before they went with that?
Why, is it better?
No, it's weird. Like, it looks like the comic book costume, like the mask, kind of, but it's like an animatronic face, kind of like the Jim Henson Turtles.
Oh, weird. So, like, it moves when he talks and stuff?
Yeah. That's what they wanted to do, but they couldn't get it to work to the point where Defoe would be able to give a believable performance with it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I do like that you can at least kind of see his mouth underneath it.
Yeah, and the eyes come out, so you can...
Yeah, so, I mean, he's at least acting underneath the mask, but it's still unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was another design. Have you seen the Alex Ross sketches that he did for this movie when he does it?
No, I've not.
He did early design work for this movie, and he did design for the Spider-Man costume, and he did design for the Green Goblin. And the Spider-Man costume, it's a combination of the classic suit and the Ben Reilly costume. Like, it has the web shooters on the outside and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the chest comes to like a V, kind of like the new costume, and it's got black on it instead of blue. And it has a big spider on the chest. It's kind of cool. And then the Green Goblin one, he kind of looks like Hobgoblin, and he has a sword, and it's like a medieval feel kind of thing.
Weird.
Yeah,
I like that he has a sword. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but the glider in the design's goofy. It's really goofy looking. Like it looks like a scooter. It has like handles and stuff.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's like he rides on a flying Segway.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to go to barbers and bring pictures of James Franco when I got my haircut,
Oh yeah?
so that people would cut my hair right.
He does have a good haircut.
Because I used to get my hair cut like his a lot, except that my hair's a lot wavier than his, so it doesn't really look like that, but at least I get the length right.
Yeah.
It seems like every time I go to the barber shop, they want to like cut it way shorter than I want it to be. So I just don't go to the barber very often. I'm like, what? I'll just keep it really long. And then when I go, and then when I go and I say like 2 inches, they'll cut off 2 inches.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've actually never done that, like taken a picture of someone. I should try that sometime.
Yeah, if they know what they're doing, it works really well.
Yeah.
You know, assuming it's a good picture.
that is true as well. You gotta choose the right picture.
You know, it's kind of sad looking at this apartment. That this is these movies. This is the nicest place he will ever live in.
Yeah, it's not even that nice.
It's not even that nice. But like, it's gonna get worse.
And Norman Osborn was the one who bought it with all his money.
Yeah. What's that about?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a little bit indicative of how he treats his son. I think they did that on purpose.
Yeah, that's true.
And I like it. I mean, I actually do kind of like it.
Me too. Oh, I love this scene in the mirror. Favorite scene with Defoe in the movie.
It's quite good. And, you know, they kept exploiting it in the other movies, and I don't care. Because it was cool every time.
I know.
I think. I really like it.
Me too.
What I really like about this is that it's really the only time. Well, it's not the only time. You get it again at the end, but it's. I never felt like you got enough of these moments where there was a big difference between the multiple personalities.
I agree with you.
And I wish that somehow there had been enough time to play that out more, because I think that he really has a good handle on how he wants to play each of these different characters.
Yeah, I agree.
They do feel like two different people.
Yeah. And it's weird, like, at the end, it's kind of cool how he acts as the regular Norman personality, but it's actually the evil one pretending to be that personality, if that made any sense.
See, I think you can interpret that in a couple different ways.
Yeah. That's how I always took it, but... See,
I always wondered if it was like in the face he was regular Norman, but kind of like with the mirror thing, where like his body's doing all this stuff even while he's like it's like he can be both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a mirror, we don't really get to see that. But like I always got the sense that like he was just both at the same time.
Oh, I never even thought of it that way.
So his face is regular Norman, but his hands are evil Norman. That's what I always kind of took it as.
Oh, that's really interesting. I never even thought of it that way. I do like that the personalities talk to themselves too. That's really cool. Like he talks to the mask and stuff. I think that's really interesting.
But just to clarify, I think your way works also.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way I always understood it. And there's a thing about that final fight.
The name Green Goblin. I want to quote her every time somebody says
it. I loved it. But
it's not slander in print, it's libel.
There's something at the end in the fight with the Green Goblin that I'm going to bring up when we get to it, and I think it's really funny, and I think you'll find it amusing as well. So
don't forget, make a note.
I will.
Are you ready for another trivia question?
I am.
You're going to love this one. How many times in the film is the phrase "with great power comes great responsibility" used?
Oh, I have no idea. I never counted.
Can you make a guess?
Let's see.
I'll reveal this one now, because...
3 or 4?
It's 3.
Okay.
It's 3.
Okay. I thought it was 3, but then I was like, yeah, I'll say 3 or 4 just for insurance.
I got a question about the webbing. Is it ever established in this how long it takes to wear off?
I don't think so.
Or is he just leaving webs all over the place and they might not even be biodegradable?
Yeah, that's really...
I mean, they would have to be if they were organic, but
yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's like what if
mouth
is stuck forever?
Yeah, what if it takes like 30 days?
Oh my god. His room would be a mess.
You know what I mean? Like that teaser trailer between the Twin Towers they had to take out because of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine if they left that in the movie and the helicopter was just stuck in that web and they couldn't get it out. Or imagine if, like, it dissolved in an hour and then it just fell and killed a bunch of people.
Oh my god.
Either way you slice it, putting a helicopter in a giant web is a terrible idea.
That is true.
It's kind of good it's not in the movie.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I thought about that before.
I really like the dialogue in this scene, except for the fact that he has like no reason for anything he's doing.
No, he has zero where he's just like, I want you to join me because you have superpowers, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's clearly you know one of those. Well, we're making a comic book movie, so we got to have that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
If we don't actually have a dichotomy between the hero and the villain, we at least got to pretend like we do.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but I just feel like you got that with this. You don't have to every time. Let me clarify, because I do talk about dichotomy a lot with heroes and villains. Mm-hmm. My favorite is when you have either there's two of them. Either you have a hero and a villain that are opposite sides of the same coin, mm-hmm. or you have the villain who wants to be the hero's father figure. Mm-hmm. Or parental figure, whatever it happens to be. Those are the two I find most interesting. It doesn't always have to be that. Mm-hmm. Here I feel like they're trying to play it up as if they're opposites, and that doesn't really make any sense at all.
They should have played it up as the father figure thing, because they tried to establish that.
They do a little bit, but it just doesn't go far enough. There's not enough payoff for it.
They don't do anything with it once they bring it up.
There's a little bit at the end, with the whole kind of, thank God for you, Peter thing. But I still don't feel like it. I mean, when he does say at the end, okay, it's in dialogue. I just don't feel like it's in enough of the film, if that makes sense. Like, they talk about it, and that's another Smallville problem, where like as long as we bring it up, it's as if it actually matters.
Yeah. It's thematically in the film if we say it.
Yeah, it's thematically in the film where as long as the characters make reference to it, we don't have to actually show it on screen. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but you do, because you have to make me buy that it's actually happening. Yeah. So when you get to the end of the movie, he says something along the lines of, I treated you like I was your father or something.
Yeah, be a son to me now.
Thank you. Yeah, that line's in there.
Yeah.
They don't have enough screen time together.
They don't.
As Peter and Norman.
They shake hands once, and then he buys him an apartment, and another time he's like, I'll get a job for you, and that's it.
Yeah, and then there's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is, but then that one, of course, is all about him figuring out that he's Spider-Man, so it doesn't count. Because he's evil Norman at that point.
Yeah. I love when he's like sharpening the steak knives at that scene. But anyway, we'll get there. I have a few things to say about that scene, because it's really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Mary Jane and Peter. Do you think they have good chemistry?
No, not at all. Not even.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, I just don't. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think that Kirsten Dunst was entirely miscast. Entirely.
I agree. Actually,
I also don't think Kirsten Dunst is a bad actress. I just don't think that she knew what she was doing in this movie, because I don't think she was right for the part.
Mm-hmm. I've actually seen a movie. I don't remember what it was called. I saw it in my creative writing class recently. It was a good movie. It was Orlando Bloom was in it, and she was in it. And she played a character that was remarkably similar to Mary Jane, and she played it well.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like when I saw the movie,
it was better written.
Yeah, it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. But it was just weird. Like, she was like Mary Jane but blonde, and I was like, that's really ironic, because she acts more like Gwen in these movies, and she's redheaded.
I love how. Okay, so sometimes you'll get a movie like this where it'll be like it's comic book in a good way.
Yeah.
And then you'll have scenes like this where it's comic book in a bad way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're walking and talking, then it's raining and thundering, and seconds after the rain and thunder happens, she gets mugged.
Yeah.
And then Peter Parker happens to still be in the same area and figured out that happened.
Yeah.
All at the same time. It just doesn't work.
I agree with you. I mean, I never noticed that until recently when I rewatched it. I was like, it started raining all of a sudden. That's strange. This scene was always hokey to me. Obviously to everyone else who's parodied this kiss scene thinks it's hokey too.
Yeah, and it's been parodied a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find this. Was the film Elizabethtown?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, cool. Found it.
You should take a look at it sometime. I found it to be enjoyable.
Okay, cool. I'll do it. Well, there's upside down kissing going on.
Awkward.
That's what's happening right now.
Well.
I mean, like I always want to like feed them dialogue. Like while they're doing like, boy, this sure feels staged, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like,
or it's like it's not actually rain. It's like there's buckets being poured on us from above.
I know, like, that's just not something I could see anyone logically doing if a guy in a mask saved them from muggers. Like, let me make out with you while you're upside down. Like,
to be fair, at least they've met before.
That's true.
Like at least it's the second, and they do mention that, you know what I mean? Like, there's a rapport. It's an obvious, you saved me, so I have to do the stereotypical chick thing where you're a guy and you must like kissing girls, so I have a gift for you because I'm a girl and I have lips.
Yeah. That's probably what bothers me about it, is because it's so stereotypical.
I think the most awkward thing in the world would be if a really hot chick got saved by a gay superhero.
Oh, it's just
like a really hot heterosexual chick.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm not
saved by
into
a gay
that.
superhero. She tries to kiss him and he's like, I appreciate it, but I'm just not into that.
That'd be really funny.
See, if I were like this is not really generally my kind of thing, but like if I were gonna parody that scene, that's probably what I would do with it. I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good.
It'd be really funny if they turned that completely on its head too, like if you did it in like something like Batwoman where you have a lesbian superhero and it's like the guy's like, hey, you saved me, let's kiss as a thanks. Just like, no.
But the thing is, even with heterosexual people, that would never work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the opposite way of that would never work.
Yeah.
Like a woman saves a guy and the guy's like, I'm gonna kiss you, and she's like, no, I'm not even
exactly.
You're just not my type.
Yeah.
Or even worse, it would be like, wouldn't it be great if it was like a really like women's lib kind of chick, and she was like, how dare you try to get in bed with me right after I saved your life? It's like, can't we at least have coffee first? God. You're so chauvinist. You're such a chauvinist victim.
The scene with Defoe is hilarious. I love how he pretends to be an old woman.
Yeah,
and then he turns around and goes, ah! That's hilarious.
And then, of course, you have your slow motion trying to dodge spinning blades thing. Which is also pretty Smallville, really.
Yeah. Oh, Shades quotes that all the time. It's just like, what about my generous proposal? It's so funny. He does a pretty good Willem Dafoe impression.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Is it as good as Coolio Vid's Megatron?
Yeah, it's about on the same level, I would say.
Okay, because Coolio Vid has a pretty decent Megatron.
He does.
Roll out.
Yeah, that was funny.
I do really like Dafoe with the crazy eyes when he's in the elevator.
Oh yeah. Me too.
Although he does look a little hungover.
In the Defoe cut that I sent you, that's hilarious when it just cuts to that when he's like, no one says no to me, and then it's just him going,
I haven't watched that yet.
Oh, that's hilarious. The transitions are hilarious because they're totally out of context.
Yeah, that's my kind of comedy, out of context comedy. That's fun.
I love that stuff. He's just like completely angry and like doesn't want to be there. Work was murder.
I get it.
She wore black this time. Yay, Mary Jane.
Yeah, well done.
You followed directions.
But she's probably the whole time thinking, God, I hate you for making me wear this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, that's what kind of character she is, right?
Yeah.
She's gonna resent everything. Like I know that some of the stuff that he's saying to her and doing with her is a little bit unfair, but like she needs to give a little bit, don't you think? I mean, she could be a lot more understanding about the really tense situation with him and his father.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's in the right. I'm just saying that, like, okay, the problem with Mary Jane is a complete lack of communication with everybody, and it seems like, again, they play it up like the great endearing thing about her is that she refuses to communicate.
Yeah, and she's completely self-centered too. Like, she doesn't compromise at all.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that's what make relationships work, is people's ability to compromise with each other. Really?
Yeah, they just need to talk about things. And yeah, exactly. She's just way too self-centered.
Yeah.
And then that's played the craziest effect in 3.
Yeah, like Peter tries to make a compromise with her when he's and relate to her when he's talking about how, like, you know, when she gets the bad reviews, like, people hate Spider-Man all the time, and she's like, well, that's not the same thing. It's like, he's trying to
that's just
help
what she
you.
sounds like in that scene too. She's just like, ah! And I kind of, but I also hate how Peter's played in that movie, in those scenes too. Because he's played up like he's a complete moron.
Yeah.
Like he can't pick up on anything. He's so slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
So like you got a guy who just turns into an idiot because the scene needs him to.
Yeah.
And then you got her who turns into a jerk because she always was that way. You put them together and you got two people that I don't want to see get together. Yeah. That's the problem. Is that, like, I'm not interested in this relationship.
Yeah.
This is a love story that from the get-go I don't care about. I don't like her. I don't like him when he's with her.
Yeah. I love this Thanksgiving scene, and I'm going to tell you why. Because in the black and white magazine of Spectacular Spider-Man that came out before it was an ongoing series in 1976, they put out 2 comics, and it was a 2-issue story arc where Norman Osborn invited Peter to dinner, and he knew he was Spider-Man and toyed with him the entire time, and then attacked him when the dinner was over. And this is like panel for panel, scene for scene, and I love it.
I did not know that.
Yes. It's awesome.
Okay.
But it's in Norman's house in the, like, Harry says, oh, my dad wants to have you over for dinner because we're friends and stuff, you know? And
wow.
Yeah. It's cool.
You're just a fountain of information. See, that's why I wanted to have you on with this.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question. In comics, for you.
Yeah.
Who do you prefer? Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy?
That's a really tough question. In comics, probably Mary Jane, because, I mean, I like Gwen a lot in other places, but early on, she's really insecure and stuff, and, like, she grows as a character, and I come to like her, and she's very important to Peter's life, and, you know, she's a great character, too, but I just find Mary Jane more of an intriguing character, you know? And I like their relationship more, like the way, especially the way J. Michael Straczynski wrote their relationship. That's probably the pinnacle of, you know, Mary Jane and Peter together that I really like.
I like them married in the 90s.
Yeah, I like that stuff too.
I do.
Newlyweds, like when McFarlane was drawing the book. I like that stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I like it when she has to deal with stuff like Peter Parker getting, like, you know brutally hurt and shows up at home, and she's like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I should be helpful in some way.
Yeah.
I really like Maximum Carnage, and I know a lot of people don't, and I don't care. I've always loved Maximum Carnage, and one of the things I really like in that book is when Peter hooks up with Venom, and they're allies for a while, mm-hmm. and she and Mary Jane has to, like, stay back and nurse Venom back to health, and she loathes Peter for making her do that.
Oh yeah, because and when Venom first showed up, Venom scared the crap out of her.
Yeah.
When he showed up in the apartment and stuff. I mean, I can imagine that must have been terrible. Yeah, I like a lot of things about Maximum Carnage. It's just that I feel like that story, most of it is just an excuse for Carnage and his gang to kill things. But there are I like a lot of stuff in it.
No, it absolutely is. That's part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
I can read comics where it's just a bunch of people killing things.
Yeah. When it's done right, I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Carnage USA, that new book, is pretty much the same thing, and I don't like it. You know?
Yeah. Dan and I are going to talk about that too.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Well, actually, I'm not looking forward to it because I got to read it again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got to ask you this question. Did you like?
Okay, sure.
Did you like the first series that Zeb Wells and Clayton Crane did? I
liked it better.
Mm-hmm, me too.
I wasn't in love with it.
Yeah.
But I liked a lot of things about it. I thought it took too long to get going.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been called Carnage because Carnage is hardly in it. Like it doesn't have enough to do with Carnage.
Yeah.
I think that it does, but he's more in the periphery, right? Like if I were, I know this, I'm on about titles a lot, but if I had written that, I would have called it Spider-Man Iron Man Carnage.
It was originally called Astonishing Spider-Man Iron Man, and then it was changed to Carnage later on. Did you know that?
Yeah, probably just to sell books.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
It's.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but it just seemed. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it seemed like the way to go because I was like, it seemed like in a book called Carnage where they were bringing back Doppelganger and Shriek and doing all the '90s stuff that I like. Iron Man felt intrusive.
Yeah, and how cool would it have been if you were reading Astonishing Spider-Man and Iron Man and Cletus Cassidy showed up again and you didn't know it was going to happen?
Yeah.
That would have made the book much more enjoyable, I think.
If you didn't realize you were reading a Carnage book. And I still think that it would have sold well.
Yeah, because it's Iron Man and Spider-Man.
It's Iron Man and Spider-Man. It's Clayton Crane. I mean, it would have sold okay.
Yeah.
I think I don't think that mini sold that well anyway. Well, it must. I mean, it sold well enough. It got a sequel, but.
Mm-hmm. I think the mistake they made with marketing that mini is they said early on that Carnage was going to be a female permanently. Like, they were like, the new Carnage is female, and they marketed it like this big thing, and fans were like, yeah, I don't want to read that.
And then that's not what it was at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so weird. Honestly, considering what they finally did with Carnage USA, I almost would have rather have that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah. Not
that I really want that, but I think it almost would have been better. So this scene is awkward.
Yes.
we're in the hospital scene where Peter is telling Mary Jane what Spider-Man said about Mary Jane, and I hate this. I'm sorry, I really don't like this scene.
I agree with you. Most of their scenes together, I just don't like. Period, like you were saying before.
Because the problem is that they talk about each other like they're looking at different characters than who we're looking at.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. When he's like, when you look at Mary Jane's eye, I'm like, when I look at Mary Jane's eyes, I see somebody who's really full of herself.
And she eats it up, and she's like, oh, you know.
Yeah, and what's really funny is she still has that while she's listening to him talk about
exactly.
That.
That's
where
what
you know she's like, wow. It's like if she were to suddenly get like a million subscribers on YouTube.
She's like, wow, I am awesome.
That's what she looks like. She's like, this is a testament to my awesomeness. Yeah. Maybe that's not entirely fair.
If it's not entirely fair, I think it's pretty close. Oh man. But you know the thing that really bothers me about the new Carnage, like the design of Cletus Cassidy?
Yeah.
He looks like Expanded Universe Darth Maul exactly. He has
Really?
Yeah, he's got the same exact robot legs pretty much.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I would never have put that together, but all right.
Yeah. I don't know, it just bothers me.
This is gonna be a stupid joke, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It looks like Harry must have just seen his father because he's wearing black too.
Oh.
He only likes it when people wear black things.
Then why isn't he the Black Goblin?
I do like that his sweater's green. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I thought one of the coolest touches in this whole franchise. I keep talking about the other movies, and we're probably going to talk about those later. But I like that. I think one of the coolest touches in the whole thing was at the end of 2, where he's wearing a green bow tie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever caught that, but it's freaking awesome.
I never did catch that.
It's right after he's found his father's Green Goblin lair. And then they're at the party at the end, and he's wearing a green bow tie, and he's got this look on his face like, I'm gonna be a supervillain.
Oh, I love this scene where Defoe's just like laughing maniacally upstairs, and then he comes down the stairs like, what? Like nonchalantly, like, I wasn't just laughing maniacally upstairs. Let's see.
I also would have been okay with more scenes with these two.
Yes, especially since how much they play it up later on.
Yeah, that was always my problem with the later movies too. And that's the thing that my wife always really griped about with Harry Osborn was he's always like, Spider-Man killed my father, blah 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 blah. Why do you care? You didn't get along that well. And I mean, like, look, I get why. I get on paper why, but that doesn't. But the fact that I understand what they think they're doing does not mean they're doing it.
Right. Exactly. And that goes to back to the whole thing you were saying about Smallville before, where they're like, they say things and then they think that's good enough.
Yeah, concept and execution.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I'll get in trouble with people when I'll say things like that. Well, they'll be like, well, clearly this is what they were trying to do. I'm like that doesn't mean that it was effective.
Right. I mean, intent's definitely part of it, but you have to execute that intent too to make it effective.
Yeah. Because I should understand it from a personal level, not from like a script level.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes any sense. Where the ideas come from my investment in the characters as if this were a reality that I was watching.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I've got to grasp at straws to try to figure out what they thought they were doing, and then if I touch on it and I find out I was right, then it was effective. That's backwards.
You shouldn't have to do homework to be invested in the characters and understand the film's plot, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you have to do some deep-rooted thinking to figure out what you were really getting, what they were really getting at with something.
Right.
But that's different.
Completely different. I agree.
You shouldn't have to do that for character motivations.
Exactly.
You know, why do the characters do what they do? That's fundamental to good story. Fundamental.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we said it about Norman Osborn before, and it doesn't. I just don't think it bothers me as much about him because Defoe's so great in the role.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. That's part of it. Is sometimes when a character is fun enough, it's easier to look past it.
Yeah. I mean, like, he has no reason to do anything in this movie, but he's so entertaining to watch. So him and Jameson are like my favorite things in the movie, you know? It's just like, without them, this movie's not as enjoyable at all.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing with a movie like this, entertainment factor is a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. You can get away with a lot of really stupid stuff if your film is fun enough to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a good story, but at least there's something to grab onto.
Yeah, and I think...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I really like watching the Power Rangers movie. It's not a good movie. I gave it a 1.5, but I'll watch it again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And I don't mind saying that. It's fun to watch. It's goofy and it doesn't make any sense and it's not a good story, but I like watching it.
And I think people really confuse the two of those.
Oh, absolutely.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
If they like something, then it is good.
Yeah, and those are different things.
Yeah.
Vince and I have done a podcast on whether or not it's okay to like something that's not good.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. If we ever do a commentary on the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I love watching that movie. It's a terrible movie. I love watching it.
Yeah, and the answer we came to, of course, was yes, of course. Like whatever you want to.
Yeah.
But have enough objectivity to understand what makes for a good story and what doesn't.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. You can look at things on a lot of different levels. And, I'm never going to tell a person, you have to not like this because it did this and this and this wrong against convention.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everything's about convention. It's just that if we're critically talking about whether or not something is effective, by way of character motivation and all that kind of stuff, that's a different conversation than did you have a good time watching it?
Exactly.
Although of course those things do play into the enjoyment of a film. It's just simply kind of like simply. I was going to say it's simply complicated. I actually almost said that. That's why I should never do anything off the cuff.
We could use the joke that you always say, just like when someone asks you a question. It depends.
Yeah, it just depends. That's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm really glad we came up with that because now I have a convenient answer for anything.
Yeah, that's what you could do with the multi-topic extravaganzas for every answer. It depends.
For every single one of them. Yeah, it's like Captain Logan, you really contradict yourself all the time. No, I don't. It just depends.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to talk about something that's not directly related to the scene, but it kind of is with the Spider-Man comics. The bridge that Gwen Stacy gets thrown off of in the comics is not the bridge that's drawn in the comics that they call it. They call it the Brooklyn Bridge, but it's drawn as another bridge in New York. I forget which one it's called.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I never caught that, but
yeah, it's not.
I wouldn't really know, like just looking at it, because it's not like I've been there or anything.
Me either, but I read that somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They drew it wrong.
Way to cite your sources, Dan. That's great. I read it somewhere, and
well, I know it's true because if you go.
No, I know. I'm just messing with
you. I just thought that's kind of an interesting little tidbit to add in here. And I did enjoy Defoe singing. That was awesome before.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Although I have weird things sometimes with like character names and things. I think it's a little bit strange that as soon as somebody in a comic or even a superhero movie names somebody, they start calling themselves that too.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
It's strange that when he's like he calls himself the Goblin, but like J. Jonah Jameson named him that. Did he like read it in a newspaper and go, "No, that sounds good.
Yeah,
I'll be the Goblin."
Yeah.
And then like toward the end of the movie, he even when he's like regular Norman again, he's like, no, the Goblin did all that. I'm like, well, so now like the Goblin personality calls himself the Goblin?
Yeah, that's really weird. I didn't even think of that. That's a good point. It
felt like comic book dialogue thrown in a movie where it didn't fit.
Yeah, that is.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but like in the comics, he calls himself the Goblin. That personality is the Goblin personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in this, I don't think it quite fits.
I agree with you, because
it's a total nitpick.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it anyway.
Oh yeah, it's not a fundamental flaw in the movie.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But I'm saying it anyway.
Right. Oh, I can't wait.
Apparently, in this continuity, New Yorkers have like camaraderie and stuff.
That was what was one of the scenes I found hokey about this movie. Even as a kid, it's just like I thought they all hated him.
Yeah, well, and also I was just like I thought New Yorkers like hated each other. Like,
yeah.
like every time anybody talks about New York, I mean, maybe in a situation like that where they're all about to plummet to their death, it'd be a little different.
Yeah.
When he's like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. I'm like, well, I didn't realize that New Yorkers came together like that. Like.
Yeah.
So some people have complained about the fact that Sam Raimi can't make a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man losing his mask.
Okay.
Does that bug you? It never bugged me, but like I have heard this complaint.
It never bugged me because he wears it for most of the film. Like usually he just loses the mask in the last fight, the final fight of the movie.
Well, that didn't happen in Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, he did have an awful lot in 2.
He did have an awful lot in 2. I can see why people like... I mean, I think it's something that's kind of ripe for making fun of. I don't think it's really a problem.
Right. I mean, they do that in all superhero movies, you know? Like...
Yeah, but way more in these.
They do. That's fair. Oh, I can't wait for this part to come up. This is going to be really... It's a joke me and Shades and Coolio have about this scene that I think it's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I love the slow motion Tobey Maguire getting beat up. This is fun.
I remember when this came out thinking that this was unnecessarily violent.
That's fair.
And it doesn't bother me as much now because I think I'm just used to unnecessarily violent.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, the rest of the movie doesn't really, like, seem to go with this.
Yeah.
In some ways. I don't know if that's a fair criticism or not. Because, I mean, it's not that there's not a build-up to this at all. I mean, it makes sense that you would have kind of a dark moment like this in an otherwise not-so-dark movie. But, like, he's really bloody. Oh, wow, all of his blood disappeared just all of a sudden. I never noticed that before. He had all... Oh, did you notice that? He's got all this blood on his face. The next scene, he doesn't have any, and then... Or the next cut, he doesn't have any. Cuts back, it's all there again.
That's weird.
I never noticed that before.
Me either.
Anyway, this movie is pretty wholly kid-friendly up to this point.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, Goblin. Yeah, come on. Get to the part. I don't know if you're going to be on the same part as me.
Yeah, maybe not. But I don't know.
All right. Are you at the part where he pulls up the trident yet?
No.
Okay. The trident.
He pulls up the trident. What are we talking about?
You'll see, he pulls a trident out of nowhere, tries to stab Peter with it, and then it disappears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, watch.
No, I think I'm past that already. No, I'm past that. I just didn't notice it.
He just is like, MJ and I, we're gonna have a time. And
yeah.
And then he has a trident, and then he tries to stab him with it, and then it's never appears again.
I never noticed that.
I noticed it when I was watching it. This movie or this scene not too long ago on YouTube. I was like, where does that come from?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Why does he have it?
I have no idea.
Man, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
So this is that place we were talking about, where you thought he was pretending, and I don't think he's pretending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think you can look at it both ways.
Yeah, I mean,
because I don't know, he feels pretty sincere to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's another thing about this that I think is kind of strange. You know how I said that I thought that bits of this feel like kind of comic book in the middle of a movie that it doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
He also has that kind of high-pitched sniveling voice that he did some of the animated series, and he doesn't do that anywhere else in the movie.
Who, Peter?
No, Norman Osborn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know.
Green Goblin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, he just transforms into comic book Green Goblin in this last scene.
Yeah.
At least in my head.
Yeah, that is strange. I never noticed that.
It wasn't me. It was the Goblin.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. The rest of the movie, really.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And I'm not saying it's a problem with the acting. I just think that it's not like we don't have much screen time with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's some wasted screen time with him.
Mm-hmm.
It makes any sense. Where like they could have done some other stuff that would have made his motivations make more sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel like we're kind of raking certain things over the coals that probably aren't that big of a deal. But
well, I mean, that's kind of the fun of it, I guess. I don't know. It's a flawed movie. I find it entertaining.
Yeah. No, I enjoy it, but it's definitely got its issues.
Yeah. People, just because there are problems with this movie doesn't mean that we think it is bad or unentertaining. So. Yeah,
I mean, I put it on my top 10 of the decade from, the 2000s.
I think this is kind of morbidly funny, but I always think it's really funny when he just goes, "Don't tell Harry," and then does a faceplant on the glider. Just like, that is just kind of funny. I don't know if that's terrible of me or not, but I always thought that was kind of funny.
You know, you always get recurring lines in movies like this. They get repeated by different people, and then they're usually used for some kind of thematic idea. And that's one that I thought was kind of strange. They used that one with Mary Jane too. And I think it's in 2 that they bring it back. Mm-hmm. Where they keep saying "Don't tell Harry."
Yeah.
They bring that even from this into 2. It was a weird kind of repeated line, I thought.
Yeah, it's not even like it's profound or anything.
No, I don't think it is either. And of course, me being an analytical guy, I'm like, ooh, what does it mean? And then when I'm forced to conclude nothing, it feels kind of maybe not nothing, but you know.
I mean,
so now he's narrating again.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's like Harry. Everyone keeps Harry in the dark, and that's why he's so disconnected from everyone. But I don't know. You'd really have to overanalyze it kind of to make sense of it.
Do girls always have to wear black gloves at a funeral?
I guess so. In the Marvel universe.
Yeah. I mean, like, I see that in movies a lot, but I don't think I've ever been to a funeral where I saw a lot of girls wearing black gloves.
Yeah, me either.
And then I always wonder if, like, that's the only occasion they have them for.
It's like, these are my funeral gloves.
It's my funeral gloves. It's like, what else would you use that? Like, do you usually just wear one black glove when you're pretending to be a supervillain?
It's like after Harry gets in the car, he like takes a glove off. He's like, the transformation is now complete.
Yeah, that's when you know that a character has gone totally over the wall, is when they wear one black glove. And this goes all the way back to Wrath of Khan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Khan, that whole movie, he's got one black glove.
Oh.
Awesome. But then what gets really weird is that so does Michael Jackson sometimes. So I was kind of wondering about that. Like, is Michael Jackson a supervillain? Does he like to wear one black glove?
That's really strange. I never even realized that he wore one black glove and made that connection.
Yeah, that's a joke I have with some people.
Because I'm trying to think of like other supervillains, because I know there are other ones besides Khan that wear black gloves. I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
There's a lot of Marvel villains that have black gloves.
Yeah.
Of course, now I said that, I can't think of any.
Yeah, same here. I agree with you, but I can't think of any.
We've come to a consensus that we can't back up in any way at all. I don't know what that's about. Okay, this funeral thing, I feel the need to say this. So we've got narration through the funeral scene. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just bookended like we were talking about earlier, right? Mm-hmm. The very beginning of the film, I get fixated on stupid stuff like this, but the very beginning of the movie, he's narrating to get us into the movie. Mm-hmm. Here, he's narrating to get us through a scene. And then he talks a little bit at the end, right before the credits, to bookend it. Mm-hmm. There should have been narration throughout the film.
I agree. I think...
Or none at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they could have done what they wanted to do with the character in terms of adapting the character properly if they had narrated over a lot of the scenes. Because that way you can have Peter be emotional and not have him feel like he's whiny and crying all the time. Because it's weird, like when people show emotion and like break down and cry and stuff like that, that makes them seem pathetic. But if they have it going on in their heads, it's not like that at all. Because everyone thinks about that stuff, you know.
I don't know. It depends on how it's done.
Right. Exactly.
Because I still come from a school of thought that with narrative that says that a character should never complain at all. Mm-hmm. And that their emotions come from other things. Yeah. And like when we get into 2 and we have narration where it's like, am I not supposed to have what I want? I hate that. Mm-hmm. Because that seems pathetic also, even though it is in his head. Mm-hmm. I think. You know? Mm-hmm. Although I also tend to I also tend to be against Destiny ideas all the time with characters. You know what I mean? Anytime a character starts, and again, this is partially a Smallville thing too, but anytime a character starts talking about like what is supposed to happen,
yeah,
that always irritates me because again, it's this idea of like the world acting upon your character rather than your character attacking the world.
Yeah, I mean,
so as soon as a character starts looking at things in terms of you know how is my life supposed to be, I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole like narration thing would have been more effective even if he did go do the, you know, am I not supposed to have what I want thing, if they had given us a Peter Parker that was more similar to the comic book one, where that was him at his lowest point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Sure, yeah, because you're right. Characters are going to think about those things and get there.
Right, because that's what happens in the comics.
In their character arc, like,
yeah.
The whole way through they're doing that. Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's almost, I think, a direct line from Amazing Number 50, where he's sitting on his bed with his costume off, and he's like, you know, am I not supposed to be able to live a normal life and all that stuff? And then, you know, but he's not complaining about other stuff all the time, so it's like, oh, you know.
Yeah, you know, I should also clarify with what I said about the Destiny thing, because I'm thinking I wasn't very clear about that. It's not that I don't think that you can't address the idea of destiny in fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I think you ought to, because it's something people think about. I'm just saying that it's usually much more interesting when a character is fighting against destiny rather than trying to figure out what it is.
Yes. That's fair.
And that was always my problem with Clark in Smallville, is that he's always trying to figure out what his destiny is supposed to be. And the only places where I really like him is when he thinks he knows what it is, and what he wants is different, so he fights against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot more interesting and a lot more endearing, because people naturally want to be in control.
Right, exactly.
And I'm saying that as a blanket statement. I think all people naturally, inherently want control.
Well, yeah, I'd say that's fair.
And so when you have a character who is okay with not having control, he just simply wants to know what his lack of control is based on. I resist that, because I don't think that's human condition.
Oh, I agree 100%, because like, if you have someone that's always trying to figure out what, like, it's almost counterintuitive of what someone's supposed to do with their life, in my opinion. It's like, you're supposed to like figure out who you are and then do something with that. You're not supposed to be like, okay, what is the thing that I am supposed to do? You know what I mean? And then let those things happen to you. You're supposed to like go out and do it, you know?
That's right.
You're supposed to be proactive about things.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't like to make a lot of really blanket statements about things. You can write stories about lots of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And there are people who are not proactive, and you can write stories about them. But usually, the better stories about people like that, they either learn to become proactive, or they have an opportunity to become proactive, and they don't do it, and it bites them.
Yeah, or they're not the protagonist, and they're juxtaposed with the protagonist, and it makes the protagonist look better.
I don't think I've ever, by the way, watched these credits all the way through. I didn't know this random rap song was here.
I'm not there yet.
Oh, you're not? Oh, okay.
I'm still at the Nickelback song.
Are you really?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the video for that?
Yeah, it's been a long time though. I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, it's just them on a rooftop. They used to play at the end of the VHS of my Spider-Man, so I used to watch it all the time. But anyway.
Well, and I guess I'm being irritating by saying this, but technically, that song actually was not by Nickelback.
Really?
It's Chad Kroeger on his own.
Oh, okay.
It's actually not the full band. He did that on his own.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, we're right toward the end of the credits here, so I guess we'll go ahead and sign off.
All right.
I'm Captain Logan.
And I am Dan.
And we'll come back for another one of these sometime soon. See you later.
Bye.